Yes, Brian, Alicia, this is a really good example right here in Romero Bearden Park and how we can offset that urban heat island. Basically, as we continue to build, we have lots of concrete and traffic. All of that traps heat at the city's center, leaving the rural areas a little bit cooler. Now, who lives in the city center? Some of our most vulnerable community members who are at risk from this extreme heat.
People don't really think about climate change as a health risk until it's glaring them in the face, until you are inhaling smoke from wildfires or battling a hurricane or the floods where you can't access your medications or go to your primary care appointment that you had next week.
Liz Carey is a registered nurse
Climate change is a public health emergency. It really is.
who doubles as a climate change guru.
I'm on the advisory board with the North Carolina Clinicians for Climate Action. It's a mouthful.
It's a nonprofit advocacy group that focuses on educating resident physicians, promoting health equity, and making healthcare more sustainable.
We have an obligation to do no harm, but when we're polluting and harming the environment, in the long run, that's harming the communities that we're caring for.
It's important to minimize the air pollution in the city because the same gases that cause the greenhouse effect also exacerbate the urban heat island.
Dr. Matthew Easton is an urban meteorology expert at UNC Charlotte.
A lot of my research has actually shown that the urban heat island has almost doubled in the past 20 years in the Charlotte area.
Tall buildings packed with concrete and steel absorb the day's extreme heat.
By sunset, it might be on the order of 8 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the surrounding rural areas.
Lack of green space within the city traps that heat through the night, while surrounding rural areas cool off. More growth, more concrete, and fewer trees all create a more intense heat island. High school athletes, outdoor workers, the elderly, and pregnant women are most vulnerable to heat sickness, but those that carry the most severe burden often have nowhere to go.
If you're somebody who doesn't have a place to call home, like you and me might have, it is really hard to be spending hours outside when you're talking about 90+ degree temperature and a lot of humidity.
Randall Hitt is with Roof Above, an organization that helps the homeless with basic everyday needs like lunch, showers, and laundry. Where people used to congregate inside the lobbies here and cool off in some of that AC, COVID has of course added an extra layer of challenge. So Roof Above has added fans above with some misters to try to keep people socially distant and cool outside. Fountains even line the depot. Hitt finds many people coming through mentally and physically exhausted from prolonged heat exposure.
It's very difficult, particularly for folks who have respiratory issues or other health challenges.
While nurses remained on standby checking for symptoms.
Dehydration, excessive sweating, extreme thirst, dizziness, nausea, vomiting.
North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services keeps track of heat hospitalizations. Going back to 2010, there have been up to 5,000 emergency visits in the Tar Heel State during summer's sweltering stretch each year. Since the 1970s, the warming climate and expanding urban heat island has led Charlotte to nearly 3 more weeks of heat indices over 90 degrees. As warming overnights bring little to no cooling relief, AC demand is increasing in the QC, a luxury not everyone has. This is why Carey calls climate change a public health emergency.
It's really important to just remember that we have such a huge impact on our own health when it comes to taking care of our planet.
Planting more trees and planting more green can cool us off and make a difference.
We do need to take it seriously sooner, especially since we've had such rapid growth in the Charlotte area over the past couple decades.
Now in Charlotte, there's just about 45% of tree coverage in the city, and 80% of that is on private property. So the city does have a plan to get some more of these trees back into the QC by 2040, and North Carolina Clinicians for Climate Action does help with trying to get those trees back in some of those poorer communities too. For now, reporting live in Uptown, meteorologist Elisa Raffa, Fox 46.